Good morning, guys. Today is our third session for the Spring Boot and microservices. Today is our third session for Spring Boot and microservices. In the session one, we discussed about course information. What is this course? What are the prerequisites to attend this course? What is the duration of the course? And what topics we are going to learn as part of the course that we discussed in the first session. Then coming to second session, we understood what is programming language and what is a technology and what is framework. So can you tell me what is a programming language, guys? What is a programming language? Programming language is used to communicate with the computer. If you want to develop any application, then we need one programming language. There are several programming languages available in the market. Java is one of the programming language. So by using programming languages, we can develop standalone applications. Set of rules will be available. Set of syntaxes will be available. Now, along with that programming languages, companies introduced a concept called technology. These technologies are developed based on programming languages only. When the programming language is available, why should we go for technology? To develop different types of applications. By using programming language, we can develop only standalone application. If you want to develop different types of applications, then we are going for technology, right? So when you go for technology, what is the problem, guys? When you go for technology, we need to work on common logics in the application as well as business logics in the application. Can you tell me what are the common logics in the application? What is the common logic in the application? Boilerplate code. That means duplicate code we need to write. More lines of code will be available. More exceptions will occur. Maintenance also will become very difficult. So examples for common logics: getting the connection, creating the statement, execute the query, process results, capture form data, validate form data, convert form data to DTO object. These logics are common in every project. Along with these logics, we need to work on the business logics also. It will take more time to develop the code. So there are some challenges available when you are developing a project with technology. To overcome those problems, frameworks came into picture. What is framework? What is framework? Framework is a semi-developed software, or we can say framework is a piece of software which will provide some common logics required for the application development. When you want to develop the application, connections are mandatory. Capturing the form data is mandatory. Performing form validations are mandatory. Converting the form data into DTO object is mandatory. So instead of we are writing the logic for all this functionality, framework will provide the logic for us. That logic is called common logic. Any logic which is required for multiple projects, that logic is called as common logic. So instead of we are developing the common logic, framework will provide the common logic required for the application. What is the benefit we are getting with the frameworks? What is the advantage we are getting with the frameworks? Using frameworks, we can develop applications quickly. Easily we can develop our application because you no need to write a lot of code. Some code will be provided by the framework. The remaining code you need to write. So every application contains two types of logics. One is called common logic. Second one is called business logic. Common logic will be provided by framework. You work on only business logic development. What are the benefits with the framework? No duplicate code, no, you don't need to write common logic again and again. Common logic will be provided by framework. As they are already providing some 50% of the logic, you can develop the application quickly. Faster development process will be there and less lines of code. Some code is provided by the framework, remaining code only we have to write. When the code is less, the bugs also will be less, right? And when the code is less, the maintenance of the project also will become very easy. So these are some advantages of going with the frameworks. Now we are trying to understand what is a Spring. What is Spring? Spring is a framework which is used to develop Java based applications. Now in the market there are so many frameworks are available. Earlier there was a framework called Struts framework is available. So Struts framework was there in the market from 2003 to 2000, 2013, 2014. So till that time, Struts framework was very famous in the market to develop software applications. Struts is a Java-based framework. So 2003 to 2004, these many years, Struts framework is very popular in the market. Now, what is this Struts framework? What we can develop by using Struts framework? Struts framework is used to develop web layer. That means you can develop controllers by using Struts framework. We are developing a servlet to handle the request and response. But what is the problem with the servlet? You need to capture the data manually, request.get parameter, do the validations, and convert the data to DTO object. Instead of we are doing that operation, we can use a Struts framework. By using that Struts framework, we can develop web layer in the project. Basically, we can develop controllers in the application by using Struts framework. Then after, we have another framework called Hibernate framework. There was another framework called Hibernate framework. This Hibernate framework is used to develop persistence layer. Hibernate is used to develop persistence layer. So earlier, if you want to develop any project, then we need to use Struts plus Hibernate. We need to use Struts plus Hibernate. What we can do by using Hibernate? By using Hibernate, we can develop only persistence layer. What is the meaning of a persistence layer? Data access layer. So the layer which is responsible to communicate with the database, that is called as a persistence layer. So we can develop persistence layer by using JDBC also. What is the problem if you develop persistence layer by using JDBC? What is the problem with the JDBC? Every time you need to get the connection, you need to create the statement, you need to execute the query, you need to convert the result set into DTO object, then you need to close the connection. So you need to write lot of boilerplate code in the DAO layer when you go for JDBC. So to overcome the problems of the JDBC, Hibernate framework came into picture. So if you go for Hibernate, you no need to deal with the connections, you no need to deal with the result set. Okay, everything, whatever the common logic is available, that logic will be taken care by Hibernate. You just to give your query to the Hibernate, Hibernate will execute the logic, it will get the connection, it will create the statement, it will execute your query, it will convert your result set into DTO object. So you just give your query to the Hibernate, the remaining 4 steps will be taken care by Hibernate only. So our business logic is query execution. Which query we need to execute? Give that query as an input for the Hibernate. Hibernate will take care of the remaining steps. Getting the connection, creating the statement, executing that query, close that connection, process that result. That part will be taken care by Hibernate. Hibernate is a framework which is used to develop persistence layer. Then what is the Struts framework? Struts framework is used to develop web layer. What is the meaning of web layer? Take a request from the client and give the response to the client. That is the part of the web layer. Earlier, people used to develop the web layer by using Struts framework, and people used to develop persistence layer by using Hibernate framework. Now, if you see a application architecture, if you see application architecture, every application will contain controllers. Every application will contain controllers. What is the responsibility of the controller, guys? What is the responsibility of the controller? Controllers are responsible to handle request and response. Now we will call the controllers as web layer. We will call the controllers as web layer. They are responsible to handle request and response. Then we will be having service layer. Controllers will be available, services will be available. What is the meaning of services? Which contains business logic. For every application, business logic will be available, sending the OTP to your mobile number, sending an email, export the data into Excel or something PDF, do some calculations, interest calculation, bill calculation, total transactions calculation. Such kind of business logic will be available. That business logic we are going to develop in the services. It is called as a service layer, or it is called as a business layer. So people will call it as service layer. Along with the service layer, our application will contain DAO layer, persistence layer, or we can say DAO. DAO stands for data access object. DAO stands for data access object. We will call it as a persistence. We will call it as a persistence layer. And for every application, database will be available. DAO layer is responsible to communicate with the database. DAO layer is responsible to communicate with the database. Then inside the DAO, we can write the logic to communicate with the database. Inside the service, we will write the business logic. Service layer will communicate with the DAO layer, and DAO layer will communicate with the database. And here, controllers will be available. Controller will contain the logic to handle the request and response. And for this controller, here we will have view pages. UI pages will be available. Our UI pages are going to communicate with the controller. We can call it as a view presentation. So presentation layer will communicate with the web layer. Web layer will communicate with the service layer. Service layer will communicate with the persistence layer. Persistence layer will communicate with the database. So this is called layered architecture. This is called layered architecture. Now, end user will be available. End user is going to communicate with the presentation layer. That presentation layer will communicate with the controller. Controller will communicate with the service. Service will communicate with the DAO. DAO will communicate with the database. This is called application architecture. We will call it as a application architecture. We will call this as layered architecture. If you go for any real-time project development, we are going to follow this layered architecture. So if you go for any application development in the industry, we are going to follow this layered architecture to develop the project. So can you tell me what layers available in the project now? What layers available in the project now? Presentation layer is available, which is called as a view. Now, and web layer is available, which contains controllers. Service layer is available, which contains business logic. Persistence layer is available, which contains DAOs. Are you guys clear? Now tell me, what is view in the application? What is view in the application? View is called as a presentation layer. View is called as a presentation layer. Earlier, people used to develop this presentation layer by using JSPs. Earlier, people used to develop the presentation layer by using JSP. But nowadays, JSP outdated. People are using either Angular or React to develop presentation layer in the project. So what are the technologies are there to develop the presentation layer? JSP or Angular or React. So earlier, people used to work with JSP 10 years back. People used to develop the presentation by using JSP. But today, JSP got outdated in the market. What is the alternate for the JSP today? Angular or React. Front-end frameworks are available. Front-end technologies are available to develop user interface of the application. So people are going to use Angular or React to develop front end of the application. Then next one. So to develop controllers. Earlier, people used to work with the servlets. Earlier, people used to work with servlets. By using servlets, we can develop front end of, by using servlet, we can develop web layer. So what is the meaning of web layer? Web layer contains only controllers. What is a controller? Which will control the user request and response. So what operation user is performing, what we need to do with the user request, what response we need to send to the user, that logic will be available in the controller. How we are going to develop the controller? Earlier we used to develop the controllers by using servlets. But what is the problem with the servlets? What is the problem with the servlets? Boilerplate code. If I have 10 forms, 10 servlets I have to create. In every servlet, I need to write request.get parameter. So programmer is responsible to capture the data from the form. Programmer is responsible to convert the data into DTO object. So that is common logic for every project. Capturing the form data, converting the form data to the object, redirecting the request from one resource to another resource. These are the common logics required for every project. Common logics required for every project. If you go for servlets, you need to write that common logic in every servlet, which will take more time, which may give more bugs in the project. Now, to overcome the challenges with the servlets, in the market, people introduced a concept called struts. Struts is a framework which is developed by Apache company. We are using Apache Tomcat. Tomcat is a server given by Apache organization. The same Apache company provided one framework called Struts in the year of 2003. In the year of 2003, this Struts framework came into picture. By using that Struts framework, we can develop the controllers easily. You no need to write the common logics to capture form data, to convert the form data to object. Struts framework will take care of that. You just focus on the business logic. The common logic will be taken care by Struts framework. Are you guys able to understand? So what is a framework? Why we need to go for framework? What is framework? Why we need to go for framework? Framework is a semi-developed software which will provide some common logics required for several applications development. In every project, connections, form data converting to object, request redirection, these are the common logics. Instead of we are writing those common logics, framework is going to provide that common logic for us. Framework is going to provide common logic for us. So web layer, to develop the web layer, earlier people used servlets. After that, people used struts framework. Okay, good. Then after service layer means business logic. It depends on the requirement. Sometimes we are going to use third-party libraries. Sometimes we will do with only Java. Suppose any calculations I want to do with Java only, we can do that. I want to send an email, mail API I am going to use. I'm going to send OTP, Twilio API I am going to use. I want Excel report, POI API I will use. I want PDF, iText API I will use. So to develop this business layer, sometimes we are going to use third-party libraries. Okay, sometimes third-party libraries, sometimes with normal Java only, we are going to develop our business layer. Business layer will change from project to project. Some projects are banking applications, some projects are healthcare applications, some projects are e-commerce application, some projects are edtech companies, institute websites will be available. Some companies are retail industry, some companies are telecom industries, some companies are insurance industries, loan industries will be available, mortgages will be available, and ticket booking will be available. So n number of applications are there in the market. From application to application, business will be different. So business logic will be different. So sometimes to develop that business logic, normal Java is sufficient, and sometimes third-party libraries are required, depends on the situation. Got it? Next one, persistence layer. What is the meaning of a persistence layer, guys? What is the meaning of persistence layer? Persistence layer is responsible to communicate with the database. Persistence layer is responsible to communicate with the database. So earlier, to develop the persistence layer, initially people used JDBC. People use JDBC to develop persistence layer. But what are the problems with the JDBC? What are the problems with the JDBC? There are some challenges in the JDBC. The challenge is boilerplate code. Every time you get the connection, you create the statement, you execute the query, you process the data, you close the connection. That is a common for every method in the DAO. If I have 1,000 tables, 1,000 DAO classes. DAO means data access object, which is responsible to communicate with the database. So 1,000 DAOs, in every DAO, 10 methods are available. 1,000 into 10, 10,000 methods. So how many places you need to write the logic for connection? 10,000, 10,000 connections, 10,000 statements, 10,000 result sets, 10,000 times you need to close the connection. Lot of boilerplate code you need to write if you go for JDBC. To overcome the problems of the JDBC in the market, people introduced a concept called Hibernate. People introduced a concept called Hibernate. So by using this Hibernate, we can develop persistence layer. By using Hibernate, we can develop persistence layer. Can I develop entire Java project by using Hibernate? If I learn the Hibernate, can I develop complete Java application, complete web application? No. Why? Why we cannot develop the entire project by using Hibernate? Hibernate is a only persistence layer framework. By using Hibernate only you can develop persistence layer. By using Hibernate we cannot develop entire application. Are you clear? And by using servlet, can we develop the entire application? No. Servlet cannot communicate with the database. Servlet need to use either JDBC or Hibernate to communicate with the database. There are some problems with the servlet. To overcome the problems of the servlet, people are using Struts framework at that time. People used Struts framework at that time. Struts is used to develop only web layer. If I learn the Struts, can I develop the entire project? If I learn the Struts, can I develop the entire project? No, we cannot develop the entire project by using Struts. Why we cannot develop entire project by using Struts? Why we cannot develop entire project by using struts? By using struts we can develop only web layer. What is the meaning of web layer? Only controllers will be available. They are responsible to take the request and give the response, but they cannot do anything else in the project. If you use the struts in the project, you can develop only web layer. If you use a Hibernate in the project, you can develop only persistence layer. If you use JSP, you can develop only presentation layer. So a project will contain layered architecture like this. Online people, are you able to follow me? Online people, are you able to follow me? Good. These notes and diagrams, everything I will share in the group after the class is completed. Video also I will share, notes I will share, and this diagram also I will share in the WhatsApp group. I have already given WhatsApp group link in the chat box. If anybody is not part of that group, please join. So this is the group link for Spring Boot new batch. So whatever the notes I am writing, whatever the diagrams I am taking here, everything you will get in the WhatsApp group after the class is completed. Please join in that group so that you will not miss any update. Good. So we are trying to understand layered architecture, guys. We are trying to understand layered architecture. So in every project, we will be having presentation layer. What is the purpose of a presentation layer? User interface. Whatever we can see on the website, any web application, that is called user interface. User interface will be developed in the presentation layer. Okay. Now, in order to develop the presentation layer, there are some technologies available. So earlier, people worked with JSP. Now people are going for Angular. JSP got outdated. People are going for Angular, or people are going for React, or people are going for Vue.js. So like this, there are several technologies available to develop front end of the application, user interface in the application. Then after, In every application, web layer will be available. What is the meaning of web layer? What is the meaning of web layer? Inside the web layer, controllers will be available. What is the responsibility of the controllers? Handles request and response. Controllers are responsible to handle request and response. So what technologies are, what concepts are available to develop this controller in the Java? Servlets available. After the servlet, people started using struts framework. People started using struts framework. There are some challenges with the servlets. We need to write common logic in the servlets, right? Some boilerplate code we need to write in the servlet. To overcome that problem, struts framework came into picture. Who provided struts? Apache. Apache people provided struts framework. Struts. Struts framework is available to develop controllers in the application. By using struts, can we develop the entire project? No. Struts is only web framework. Struts is used to develop only web layer. And the next one, business layer will be available. Business layer will be available, which is also called as services. So to develop the services, what is the meaning of services? Business logic. So that business logic will change from project to project. Business logic will change from project to project. How we will develop the business logic? Third party APIs or normal Java. Suppose I want to do interest calculation. To do the interest calculation, any third party API required? No. So I is equal to PTR by 100. Some formula will be there. With the Java code only, we can do the calculations and manipulations. For example, I want to send OTP to your mobile. First of all, I need to generate the OTP and I want to send the OTP to your mobile. Are you getting my point? OTP generation can be done by using Java, but sending OTP to the mobile cannot be done by using Java directly. We need a third-party API. And I want to generate one email, congratulations email, I want to send to your mail ID. Mail I want to send from my Java application to your inbox. For that, mail API is required. So business logic we will develop with Java as well as with some third-party APIs also. Next one. In our project, persistence layer will be available. In every project, persistence layer will be available. What is the meaning of persistence layer? DAO classes, which are used to perform DB operations. Okay. DAO classes are mainly used for DB communication. To perform CRUD operations in the application, we are going to use these DAO classes. So what technologies are available to develop these DAO classes? What technologies are available to develop? Earlier people used JDBC. Earlier people used JDBC to develop DAO. To develop persistence layer, people used JDBC. What is the problem with the JDBC? What is the problem with the JDBC? Boilerplate code. You need to write a lot of boilerplate code in the JDBC. So to overcome that problem, to overcome the challenges with the JDBC, people started using Hibernate framework. People started using Hibernate framework. Okay. So now here, can I develop entire project by using Hibernate? No. What we can do by using Hibernate? By using Hibernate, we can develop only persistence layer. By using Hibernate, we can develop only persistence layer. Now here, technologies are available and frameworks are available to develop the project. JDBC is a technology. Servlet is a technology. JSP is a technology. This is servlet, JDBC, JSP developed by using Java language only. Languages are the fundamentals for any technology. Okay. So if you want any technology, if you want to use any technology, first you should be strong in the language. First you need to learn the language. Language contains some rules. Language contains some syntaxes. By using the languages, companies developed technologies. By using technologies, we can develop the projects. By using technology, we can develop a project. But inside the project, some common logics will be available and some business logics will be available. If you use a technology to develop the project, you are responsible for common logics development as well as business logic development. So you need to spend 2 to 3 months to develop the common logics, 2 to 3 months to develop the business logic. Now here, common logics, nothing but everybody requires same logic. When everybody requires the same logic, why should we write it again and again? Why everybody should write the same code again and again, which will waste our time, which will make our application difficult to maintain, which will give more bugs in the application. That's why people thought that we need to improve our development process. So every company requires some common logic. Let us develop that common logic and give it to the companies so that people can develop the projects easily. That's where framework came into picture. What is framework? What are the advantages with the framework? Come on, what is a framework? What are the advantages with the framework? Framework is called semi-developed software. Why we are calling it as semi-developed software? It will provide you some code. It will provide you some common logics required for your application development. When you use that framework, you need to focus only on the business logic development. Common logic will be provided by framework only. What are the advantages by using framework? What are the benefits we are going to get with the framework, guys? What are the benefits we are getting with the framework? You can focus only on the business logic development. Less time it will take to complete the project. Easy to test. Less number of bugs will be available. We can do more work in the less time. We can do more work in the less time when you go for frameworks concept. What are the frameworks available in the Java? Struts framework is available. Hibernate framework is available. What is the purpose of Struts framework? What is the purpose of Struts framework? Struts is a web layer framework. Struts is a web layer framework. By using Struts, we can develop only web layer in the project. What is the meaning of web layer? Which will contain only controllers. What is the responsibility of controller? To handle the user request and response. It can take the data from the UI and it can give the data to the UI. Take the request, give the response. That is called controller. To develop that controller, we can go for Struts framework. But only controllers are sufficient to complete the project? No. Along with the controllers, we need service layer and we need persistence layer. What is the meaning of service layer? Business logic will be available. That will change from requirement to requirement, project to project. With normal Java, you can develop the business logic, and sometimes we will go for third-party libraries also to develop the business logic. And the next one is persistence layer. What is the meaning of persistence layer? What is the meaning of persistence layer? Which will contain DAO class. What is the meaning of DAO? Data access object. What is the meaning of data access object? Which is responsible to communicate with the database. So DAO layer contains only logic to communicate with the database, nothing else. Now, how to develop the DAO? How to develop the DAO? To develop the DAO, we are going to use JDBC. To develop the DAO, we will use JDBC. JDBC is a technology given by Sun Microsystem. What is the problem with JDBC? What is the problem with the JDBC? JDBC, if you use JDBC, you need to write boilerplate code. That means you need to write duplicate code to develop the project. With the duplicate code, it will take more time to complete. It will give more exceptions. It will become difficult to maintain. To overcome the problems of JDBC, people introduced Hibernate. What is a Hibernate? Hibernate is a persistence layer framework. By using Hibernate, we can develop only persistence layer. Common logic will be provided by the Hibernate. You focus on only queries part. Which queries you want to execute, you give the queries to the Hibernate. Hibernate will take care of the connection statement, prepare statement, result set, connection closing, every transactions, everything will be taken care by Hibernate. You just give your query to the Hibernate. So now tell me, in the companies, people will develop a project with technologies or with frameworks? With the frameworks. Why companies will use frameworks? We can avoid common logics in the application. We can avoid boilerplate code in the application. We can simplify application development process. We can complete project in the less time. We can do more work in the less time when you go for framework, because 30 to 40% of the code which is required for the project, framework will provide. You work on the remaining 60 to 70% of the code which is your business logic implementation. If I use a technology, I need to develop common logics and I need to develop business logics also. If I go for the framework will provide the common logic. I will work on only business logic development. Are you able to understand? Are you able to understand what is framework? Why we need to go for framework? Language, technology, and framework. If you want to become a software engineer as a developer, first you need to start learning a programming language. You need to understand language fundamentals, language syntaxes, developing small desktop applications by using programming language. Once you understand the language concepts, then you should learn the technologies to develop a web application with the small requirements, login application, registration, CRUD operations, such kind of a simple web application development you will learn by using technology. Once you understand the technology to develop a project, then you need to learn the framework to develop real-time applications. So in the real time, in the industry, projects will be developed by using frameworks only. Whether you are a fresher or whether you are a experienced person, definitely you need to learn the framework to survive in the job as a developer. In the companies, no company will use JDBC servlet JSP to develop the project in this stage. In the 2023, nobody will use JSP, JDBC, servlet to develop the projects. Are you guys clear? People will use the frameworks only to develop the projects. Then you may get a question. Sir, in the companies they are using frameworks to develop the projects, then why you have wasted our 45 days of time by teaching advanced Java, servlet, JDBC and JSP? What is the reason? I know that people will not use that servlet, JDBC, JSP to develop the project. Why we spend 45 days of time for that? Why we spend 45 days of time for that? Come on. Huh. To understand the frameworks. Because if I use the Hibernate will internally use JDBC to communicate with the database. Hibernate framework is developed on top of the JDBC API. So Hibernate, when you will use the Hibernate, so what you are going to do is, here we are going to develop our application. We are going to develop our application. Our application will be developed by using, assume that in our application, I am using Hibernate framework. In my application, I am using Hibernate framework and I am using Struts framework in my application, because JDBC I will not use directly, servlets I will not use directly. My application is going to use Hibernate framework and my application will use Struts framework. When our application use the Hibernate framework, internally Hibernate will use JDBC only. Internally, Hibernate will communicate with the JDBC only. That JDBC is going to communicate with the actual database. Okay, so who is communicating with the database? Who is communicating with the database? Hibernate will communicate with the database or JDBC will communicate with the database? JDBC will communicate with the database. Our application will communicate with the Hibernate. Hibernate will communicate with the JDBC. JDBC will communicate with the database. Are you clear? Now, without having knowledge on the JDBC, can we understand the Hibernate? No. So because I will tell, Hibernate will execute query. To execute query, connection is required, statement is required, transaction is required, and result set will be available. Iterate the data from the result set, cursor will be available. All these things will happen internally in the Hibernate. You no need to write the logic. But if you learn the Hibernate directly, you will not get the confidence. You will not understand what is happening inside the project. What are the internals in the project you cannot understand. If you learn the JDBC, Our application can directly communicate with the JDBC. I can develop logic like this also. My application can directly communicate with the JDBC. If my application directly communicate with the JDBC, what is the problem? Lot of code I need to write. So for that, I'm going for Hibernate. Hibernate will give me some code. The remaining code I am going to develop. Hibernate will communicate with the JDBC. JDBC will communicate with the data. That means inside the Hibernate, JDBC code will be available. Instead of we are writing the JDBC code directly, Hibernate people implemented that JDBC code. Our application will communicate with the framework. Framework will communicate with the technology. That technology will communicate with the database. Similarly, when we are going to develop application by using struts, this struts framework will internally communicate with the servlets only. Struts framework internally communicate with the servlet. So instead of you are developing a servlet directly, you are going to develop a controller by using servlet. The controller by using struts, that struts will communicate with the servlet, that servlet will handle the request and response. Are you clear? So can we learn a framework directly? Can you understand the framework directly without having knowledge on the programming language and programming technologies? No. So first is programming language, then programming technology, then framework. Framework will use internally technologies only. Technologies are developed by using languages. Language is a mediator between the human and computer. Are you clear? Good. Technology and framework. What frameworks we have seen as of now? We have seen what frameworks as of now? Struts framework and Hibernate framework. So if I want to develop a project, only Hibernate is not sufficient. Only struts also not sufficient. I need to use the struts framework for web layer development, and I need to use Hibernate framework to develop persistence layer. Struts developed by one company called Apache. Hibernate developed by other company. Struts developed by some other company. Let us check which companies developed that struts and Hibernate. Go to Wikipedia, then you will understand. Struts framework. Okay. So go to struts framework. Who has given the struts? Apache. Go to Wikipedia. Okay. Now you see here. Struts, the developers of this struts framework, Apache Software Foundation. Okay. Initial release. When this initial release came? May 2000. May 2000. That was the first release for the struts framework. What is the final release of the struts framework? In the 2008. Okay. This is developed by using Java. Struts 1.x available. Struts 2.x also available. So struts is a framework which is developed by using Java, and it is developed by using Apache. Then similarly, go to Hibernate framework. Now, so come on, who developed Hibernate? Red Hat company developed this Hibernate. See here. Hibernate is a ORM framework. It is developed in 2021, almost 22 years ago. So in the 2000, struts came into picture. In 2001, Hibernate came into picture. Hibernate also developed by using what? By using Java. Who developed this Hibernate? Red Hat company developed this. It is an American company. That company developed this Hibernate framework. So now, if I want to develop a Java project, I need to go for struts framework as well as Hibernate. These are two frameworks developed by two different companies, not from Sun Microsystem. Sun Microsystem given Java language. Sun Microsystem given servlet JDBC JSP technology. Sun Microsystem did not give any framework. So frameworks developed by other companies to simplify project development. Struts developed by Apache company, Hibernate developed by Red Hat company. Now I need to download struts from Apache. I need to download Hibernate from Red Hat. By using these two, I need to develop my project. That was earlier trend. So 10 years back, people used it to follow in 2000s and up to 2005, 2010, people used it to follow the same approach. They use it to download struts and use it for web layer development, download the Hibernate, use it for persistence layer development. Are you guys clear? Good. Now, let's take simple example. Forget about Java. Forget about Java. 5 years back, 5 years back, if you want to, Sunday holiday is there, assume that Sunday is a holiday for us. 5 years back, if I want to watch a movie, then I should go to movie theater. After movie is completed, then I want to take lunch. Then from the movie theater, again I should go for the restaurant and have the food. After that food completion, I want to go for the shopping, then go to another store to do the shopping. So movie at one place, restaurant is at another place, and shopping complex is at another place. 5 years back, my whole day will be spent like that. Morning 9 o'clock, go to movie. Afternoon 1 o'clock, go for lunch. Then evening 4 o'clock, go for shopping. Night 10 o'clock, go to the home. So three different places are there. Movie is in one place, restaurant is in another place, and shopping cloth store is available in the another place. What is the problem at that time? Traveling. First thing is the traveling problem. Second one, time. But today, if you go to this mall, if you go to this mall, movie theater is available there only. In the fourth floor, movie theater is available. In the third floor, food is available. In the first floor, shopping is also available. Am I able to get everything at one place? Am I able to get everything at one place? So can I save my time? Can I save my time? So at 5 years back, before this mall, there was a small theater here. That means only theater. We can only watch movie in the theater. Again, if I after movie completed, if I want to take the food, again I should go to Amirpet or SR Nagar to take the food. After food completed, again I should go to Amirpet or some other place to do the shopping. So three different places I have to travel in order to complete my weekend. But now, do I need to travel three different places? Not required. So everything is available in the mall. In the mall, restaurant is available, shopping is available, movie theater is available, game zone is also available, playground is also available. Everything is available at one place. So now, which one is good? Going to movie separately, go for restaurant separately, go for shopping separately, that is good. Or going to the mall and do everything is good? Which one you prefer now? Mall. Why you prefer mall now? Why you prefer mall now? In the mall, everything is available at one place. Everything is available at one place. That's why so many people are preferring to go for the mall on the weekend for shopping, for lunch or dinner, for games, for movie. Everything is available at one place. So it is attracting the people. It is attracting the people. Earlier also movie theater is available. Why they have demolished that movie theater? Why they constructed a big mall here? By spending crores of rupees. Maybe they might have spent 10 to 20 crores to construct that mall. Earlier, movie theater is available, business is running, students will go to the movie theater, every day houseful. But why they demolished that movie theater? Why they constructed a big mall by spending 20 crores of money? To attract more customers, to provide more services to the customers at one place, to do more business. To do more business, they demolished that theater, they constructed a mall by taking 3 years of time, by spending 20 crores of money. So with that, earlier only people will go to watch a movie, but now they are doing food business, they are doing shopping business, they are doing movie business also. Earlier there was only one business in this place. Now 10 different businesses are running in the same place. More number of customers are coming, more money they are getting. Are you clear? So people will prefer a mall, or people will prefer three different places for the weekend. People will prefer mall. Now here also, if I want to develop a project, can I do everything by using struts? Can I do everything by using struts? No. I should go to Apache website, download the struts. By using that struts, you develop the web layer. Then go to Red Hat website, download the Hibernate. By using Hibernate, develop the persistence layer. For the business logic, go to some other website, download the third-party library, develop the service layer in the project. But people started thinking, array, if I want to develop a project, why should I go for 3 different frameworks? Why should I use 3 different frameworks? Why should I go to 3 different places for my weekend? If I go to mall, everything will be available at one place. My time will be saved. My money also will be saved. So everything is available at one place. So similarly, same problem occurred in the industry also. To develop the web layer, we should go for the Struts framework. To develop the Hibernate, we should go for the, to develop the persistence layer, we should go for the Hibernate. Then people started thinking, why should I download 2 different frameworks to develop one project? Why should I go for 2 different frameworks to develop one project? Why can't I use single framework to develop everything? Why can't I use a single framework to develop web layer, business layer, and persistence layer also? That's where Spring framework came into picture. If you go for the Spring framework, you can develop web layer by using Spring. You can develop business layer by using Spring. You can develop persistence layer also by using Spring. You can develop presentation layer also by using Spring. Spring is like a big shopping mall for us. Whatever you want, everything is available in the Spring framework. You no need to go for Struts. You no need to go for Hibernate separately. You just go to Spring framework. Spring framework will provide you everything which is required to develop a end-to-end project. So Spring framework will provide end-to-end support for the project development. Spring is like a shopping mall for us. What is the meaning of shopping mall? Everything will be available. Movie theater is there. Food is available. Shopping is available. Game zone is available. Whatever you want for the weekend, everything is there in the shopping mall. Similarly, whatever you need for your project development, I want persistence layer development, Spring can support for that. I want business layer development, Spring will support for that. I want controllers development, Spring will support for that. I want to develop presentation layer, Spring will support for that. Spring is a framework which will give you everything required for the project development. That's why Spring framework became very popular in the market. Struts is available, Hibernate is available, Spring also available. So in the initial days, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, Struts and Hibernate frameworks are very popular in the market because Spring at that time does not have much demand. People don't know the power of the Spring framework. Over a period of time, in 2009, in 2010, then industry realized that, array, to develop a project, we are going for Struts. To develop a project, we are going for Hibernate. But there is a other company who is saying that, boss, if you want to develop a project, persistence layer, business layer, web layer, presentation layer, everything you can develop with a single framework. That is called Spring framework. Struts is only web framework. Hibernate is only persistence layer framework. But whereas Spring is called as application development framework. Struts is called web framework. Hibernate is called persistence framework. But Spring is called application framework. Why Spring is called as application framework? Why Spring is called as application framework? By using Spring, we can develop end-to-end application. Whatever the layers you want in the project, every layer can be developed by using Spring framework. But can I do every layer development by using Struts framework? No. By using Struts, what I can do? By using Struts, what I can do? By using Struts, I can develop only web layer. By using Hibernate, what I can do? By using Hibernate, I can develop only persistence layer. Instead of Struts and Hibernate, if I use a Spring, if I use a Spring, if I use Spring, then what is the advantage? If I use a Spring, I can develop everything required for the project. So that's why Spring is called as application development framework. By using Spring, you can develop end-to-end application. By using Spring, you can develop end-to-end application. Are you clear? Now, so tell me, what is a Spring? Now tell me, what is a Spring? What is a Spring framework? We understood what is Struts framework and what is Hibernate framework. Struts is called web framework. Hibernate is called persistence layer framework. What about the Spring? Spring is an application development framework. Spring is called as application development framework. Why Spring is called as application development framework? Why Spring is called as application development framework? Spring provides support for end-to-end application development. So by using Spring, we can develop all the layers in the application. Spring supports persistence layer development. Spring supports business layer development. Spring supports web layer development. Spring supports presentation layer development also. So that's the reason Spring is called as application development framework. Spring provides support for end-to-end application development. And another beauty, Spring is Java-based framework. Spring is Java-based framework and Spring is free. Spring is free. Spring framework is free. You no need to purchase the Spring. Spring is free of cost. You can download the Spring framework. You can use that Spring framework to develop your application. So why we need to go for Spring? What is the advantage of using Spring, guys? What is the advantage of using Spring? Spring is free. Spring is free. Spring is Java-based framework. Spring provides support. Spring provides support. Spring provides support for end-to-end application development. Are you guys clear? Yes? 1 minute. Perfect. Spring is an application development framework. Spring provides a support for end-to-end application development. Spring is Java-based framework and Spring is free. Who developed this Spring framework? You can check it here. Spring framework. Okay. 1 minute. Yes. What they are saying, guys? Spring is an application framework. So it is developed by using Java. So now, who is the developer of the Spring? VMware. Earlier, it was from a company called Interface 21. Later point of time, that company sold out to VMware. Now the Spring framework is under license of which company? It is a VMware company. When the Spring came into picture, first production release 2004. What is the current release of the Spring? Spring 6.0 released in the year of 2022. So Spring is a Java-based framework. Spring is application development framework. Spring provides support for end-to-end application development. Spring is Java-based. Spring is free. Current version of the Spring is 6.x version. Spring released in the year of 2004. In the 3 also it is there, but first production release came in the 2004. The current version of the Spring is 6.x. The current version of Spring is 6.x. It released in the year of 2022. Last year, Spring 6.x version came into picture. Are you clear? So what is the drawback with the Struts and Hibernate? Struts is used to develop only web layer, okay? And Spring is application development framework. Hibernate, only persistence layer development. Are you guys clear with my point? Very good. Fine, guys. So with this, I'm stopping for today and we'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will understand Spring architecture. So how can we develop all the layers by using Spring? Okay. What is the architecture of the Spring? That we will discuss in the tomorrow session. Any questions, anyone from offline? Anybody having any questions from today's session? No sessions. Good. Thank you, guys. We'll meet tomorrow.